The overweening arrogance of Barack Obama cursed his party for the last 8 years and led to the rise of Donald Trump. After spending nearly a decade acting as a political celebrity, Obama has now been replaced by an actual political celebrity. After spending a decade decrying Americans as racists and bigots, Obama has been replaced by a man who tells Americans they don't need to be ashamed of disagreeing with Obama. Obama, more than any other single personality except for Hillary Clinton, felt the wrath of the voters on November 9th. But there is good news, according to Obama. The election was not about him. He explained on a conference call with other Democrats yesterday, quote, "Let me tell you something. We got more done than any administration in the last who knows how many decades. Look, one of the challenges that I've discovered being president is I'd like to be organizer-in-chief, but it's hard. You got Syria, you got NATO, you got summit meetings, economic issues you have to deal with on an ongoing basis. You try to get legislation done." This morning, Obama added there is a mismatch between frustration and anger because people seem to think I did a pretty good job. This has been a running theme with Obama. The only reason Americans don't bow to his superior wisdom is we have been dramatically misinformed. If only the great sage of our age had the time to speak to Americans personally, between the rounds of golf and the Kimmel appearances, he would have won. Hillary would have won. But it doesn't matter. After all, he's really, really popular, so clearly this had nothing to do with him. Now, if that sounds like a switch, that's because it is. Obama spent most of his campaign explaining his legacy was inextricably intertwined with Hillary Clinton's election. In a video he cut just weeks before the election, he said, quote, "If you want to give Michelle and me a good send-off, get people registered to vote. If you care about our legacy, realize everything we stand for is at stake." Obama even called it a personal insult to his legacy if black voters didn't show up to vote for Hillary. But that's the wonderful thing about being a narcissist like President Obama. If something wonderful happens, it's solely due to you. Just remember Obama's self-glorifying announcement about the killing of bin Laden when it sounded like Obama rappelled down from a helicopter and put two in bin Laden's face. If something terrible happens, however, it's not Obama's fault. It's everybody else's fault. It's this sort of narcissism that lies at the root of Democrats' defeat in 2016 and future defeats if they continue to do this routine. They think their losses have nothing to do with them. It's just because of Republican malfeasance and cruelty, and so they don't bother to change their behavior. Well, thank God for that. The more they insist they're impeccable, the more they double down on losing strategy. So, for the last time, thanks, Obama. I'm Ben Shapiro. This is The Ben Shapiro Show. Alrighty, so we begin today. We have so much to talk about today. We'll get to the update from DePaul University. The reason that I'm broadcasting from this hotel room, as you can see, this beautiful, luxurious hotel room, and not our normal studios with the Western barn wall in the background, is because I am broadcasting from Chicago, where Rahm Emanuel will be bursting down the door at any moment to drag me away and call me an illegal immigrant. But before we get to all of the content that we have for you, and there's plenty, first I have to give a shout out to our new advertisers over at CESO. CESO is SEESO.com, and this is a streaming comedy network. So it's all comedy all the time, commercial free. It's like $3.99 a month. And they've got all the old episodes of Parks and Rec and all the old episodes of The Office with Ricky Gervais. They've got the entire Monty Python catalog. It's bingeable comedy for people who really like comedy. It's CESO.com, SEESO.com. They have a bunch of original series as well. And if you go to CESO.com right now and you use the promo code Ben, you get 2 months for free. So if you're looking at the world and thinking, boy, I could use a little comedy, CESO.com is the place for you. My wife and I love it. We use it all the time. CESO.com, again, use that promo code Ben, and you get 2 free months, and you can watch comedies of your choosing without commercials. Okay, so lots to get to today. So first, the update from DePaul. So I'm supposed to speak at DePaul University tonight. Now, as you may recall, DePaul University banned me about a year, not even a year ago, maybe 6 months ago, because Milo Yiannopoulos spoke here, and the students went nuts and rushed the stage. And so they decided that instead of punishing the students for being terrible people and for violating basic standards of Western civilization, they decided instead to ban Milo, and then they also banned me for good measure, just because there had been a basic riot over at Cal State LA. So here is the situation right now. They banned me. The Young America's Foundation chapter here invited me. They also invited Christina Hoff Sommers, who's a wonderful theorist about feminism, to speak tonight. When they found out that I was coming, they immediately threatened to cancel the entire event if I were to speak, to which I said, okay, fine, I'll just come and I'll sit in the audience. And if I have a question that lasts half an hour, then that'll be okay. But they said, no, we can't even allow you to sit in the audience now. So now that they are actually threatening that if I step on campus, this is the latest, they are threatening that if I set foot on campus, they will arrest me, is my understanding of the situation. Although I would like clarification from the local police department that will be forced to take me to the lockup if I set foot on campus. Don't worry, we have contingency plans. We will go forward as planned. Things will happen tonight, and it'll be a lot of fun. We'll be streaming all that. But it does demonstrate the insanity and weakness of the left. Meanwhile, it is amazing that the same left that will activate the cops to shut down free speech in a room that is a lecture, they have nothing to say about these massive protests that are taking place across the country, people being beaten up, things being shut down, freeways being shut down, streets being shut down. The left is truly an astonishing display of hypocrisy and fascism, and we will bring you that live. I mean, I will go to campus, and we will bring that to you. We'll live stream it. We'll have a bunch of people taping it. There's supposed to be some massive protests. As I say, my understanding is they're not going to allow me on campus, and we will see whether that is true or not. Meanwhile, the left continues to demonstrate just why they lost and why they deserve to lose morally. The left always deserves to lose morally, but the real reason I think that they lost in this election cycle is people just got pissed off at the left. People just said, you know what? We are so sick of this crap. You and your whiny baby attitudes, you and your calling everybody racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe. It's very tiresome, and we're just done. We're not going to do that anymore. That's not stopping the left from doing more of what the left likes to do. For example, here is a woman who was on Facebook live streaming herself, berating an Iowa police officer for committing the grave sin. This Iowa police officer committed the grave sin of wearing a black band around his arm in honor of a fallen officer.
You're live. We're building an audience for you. Okay, we're streaming live at Rue in polite downtown Cedar Rapids. We got the po-po wearing a black thing on her badge. I guess she's sorry a couple of cops got whacked in Des Moines, but she doesn't give a shit about the man who's in critical care at the University of Iowa hospitals and clinics with a bullet in his neck from one of her vicious thug brothers in blue. I don't know what to say, y'all. I think this WITCH is going to seriously arrest me because some uptight Iowan a-hole thought I was impolite. Tell that police girl she has a cute ass and she can spend the night in my solitary bedroom. My friend Dennis just put that up. Where am I? Bruhemia.
Stop this idiot. So she live streams this whole thing. Apparently the black band is around the badge. You can't see in the video, not around the arm. In any case, this is what the left is. The left takes glory in this. This is sort of reminiscent of that woman who live streamed her conversation with an Uber driver, where she lectured an Uber driver about cultural appropriation because he had a hula dancer on his dashboard. The more the left exposes itself, this is the beautiful thing about social media. It's why we're going to have lots of cameras there tonight. The beautiful thing about all of this is that the more the left exposes itself, the more they demonstrate just why Americans should not trust them with anything under any circumstances. And I may not like the form that the backlash took in the form of Donald Trump, but the backlash itself is wildly justified, and the left deserves everything they get from all of this. Meanwhile, the left continues to double down. Most Americans are not in favor of illegal immigration. Most Americans are not cool with illegal immigration. We may say that people who have illegally immigrated a long time ago and have proved that they just want to be here to work, that those people, maybe we should provide them a pathway to legalization. But the vast majority of people believe that criminal illegal aliens particularly should immediately be deported, and people who are living off the public dollar should also be deported because they didn't follow the rules, because we do have rules, and because any country has the right to uphold its borders and determine who's coming in and who is going out, and whether those people deserve to be here or not. That's not stopping the left from doubling down on their full embrace of illegal immigration. Rahm Emanuel, who's the mayor of Chicago, again, a city where I am presumably banned from speaking on campus, enforced by local law enforcement under the control, I guess, of Chicago PD, or in association with Chicago PD. That's bad, but Rahm Emanuel says, we'll definitely make sure that we never arrest anybody who's an illegal immigrant. Here's Rahm Emanuel, former chief of staff to President Obama, and now mayor of Chicago.
Important for families that are anxious. It is important for children and adolescents that are unsure because of Tuesday to understand that the city of Chicago is your home. You are always welcome in this city. Always. To be clear about what Chicago is, it always will be a sanctuary city. To all those who are, after Tuesday's election, very nervous, there's filled with anxiety has been spoken to. You are safe in Chicago.
Okay, so you're safe in Chicago. The local law enforcement will not cooperate with the feds. And he's not the only one saying this. The LAPD chief, Charlie Beck, he said that they're not going to cooperate with the feds either with regard to deportation and immigration. A councilman from Boston said the same thing. Here's this councilman from Boston saying the same routine.
Trump's hard line is causing some sanctuary cities to push back and reaffirm their status.
Boston is a sanctuary city.
City Councilor Tito Jackson is worried that undocumented residents will be afraid to go to the police for help or even send their kids to school.
The police department, if you call them and you need help, they will help you, and they're not going to turn you into the feds.
Mayor Walsh is also staying the course, saying in a statement, "We are a welcoming city for all. These are Boston values, and no policy will change them."
Okay, so they're saying that they're not going to change policy there either. And this is not a big surprise. I mean, the Democrats are wedded to illegal immigration. They hope to eventually give a lot of illegal immigrants the right to vote, and then they can change the demographic of the voting population in the country. That's the goal here. By the way, when people say pathway to legalization, that does not mean pathway to voting. You can give somebody legal status. My wife had legal status in the United States for many, many years. She had a green card, but she wasn't actually given citizenship until, I think it was 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So, yeah, you can have, there are lots, millions of people living in the United States legally who don't have the right to vote. So it is worthwhile making that distinction. But what all these folks are saying is we're not going to help out the feds. Now, I think that it is worthwhile noting that the left now is in love with federalism. The left now loves federalism. Right? So it used to be, I'm old enough to remember when the state of Arizona, under Jan Brewer, Governor Jan Brewer, they were in favor of what they called Senate Bill 1070. And Senate Bill 1070 said to the feds, okay, look, when we arrest people, we're going to take down their illegal immigration data, and then we are going to hand them over to federal law enforcement. And Barack Obama sued the state of Arizona saying, stop enforcing federal law. It's our job not to enforce federal law. And so federalism was bad from Barack Obama's perspective. Federalism is constantly bad from President Obama's perspective. He said this about gay marriage. He said this about abortion. We have this hodgepodge. It's really terrible. It's hodgepodge of laws. Well, when it comes to Republicans now dominating the federal government, then all of a sudden federalism is back in style. And this, of course, is why federalism is a wonderful thing. Let Chicago try and do what Chicago's trying to do. And yes, the local law enforcement has no obligation to enforce federal immigration law. They don't. I mean, the federal government has the obligation to enforce federal law. The federal government can attach strings to the city for not enforcing federal law. They can say to the city, we're going to cut off your subsidies if you don't enforce federal law. But federalism is a wonderful thing. I just find it hilarious that the left is suddenly in love with federalism again after spending an enormous amount of time saying that federalism is the end of the world and the worst thing that ever happened to anybody. That I do find amusing and kind of incredible. So they will continue to push forward, though, with this radical left agenda. I don't know if they assume that they're just going to come back next time and sweep to victory because people were asleep during this election cycle on their side, or whether they think that the demographics are moving in their favor. But they're clearly doubling down on everything that they already think about how elections work. They're clearly already doubling down on everything they already think about politics, which is a pretty amazing thing. We'll take a quick break and say hello to our friends over at Birch Gold, by the way. If you're worried about what the economy is going to do, if you're concerned that Janet Yellen's going to raise interest rates, and if you're concerned that the stock market and real estate market are overvalued and that chaos is ahead, you may want to take some of your money and put it into precious metals. My friends at birchgold.com, birchgold.com/Ben. These are the people who will help you invest in precious metals. They can help you reinvest your IRA or 401k into precious metals and protect yourself from the vicissitudes of the market. They do have an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. I think you should ask all your questions of them. They have a 16-page free kit about investing in precious metals. You should give them a call, or you should check out their website at birchgold.com/Ben if you're interested in putting part of your assets in precious metals. Okay, President Obama, he too is doubling down. The doubling down never stops with President Obama. Again, the nice thing about Obama being a textbook narcissist, one of the wonderful things about him being a textbook narcissist, is he has never done anything wrong ever. So he was asked yesterday by NBC's Chris Jansing about whether he feels any responsibility at all for the election of Donald Trump. And clearly he should. Right? Clearly he should. I mean, the fact is that Donald Trump was a direct response to Barack Obama in 1,000 ways. Everything from political celebrity to political celebrity, everything from race baiting to anti-race baiting on part of white folks. The idea that Obama was saying that all the white folks in America were implicitly biased, or Hillary said that. And then Trump said, you don't have to feel like a racist just because you oppose Obama. The fact that Obama ignored the concerns of so many members of the population by running roughshod over them and hanging with celebrities. And here comes Trump, who clearly doesn't give a crap about other celebrities very much. In 1,000 ways, all of this is a response to Obamaism. Obama's asked if he bears responsibility, and as you can imagine, his answer, nope, not in the slightest.
And you answered, talk to me if he wins about how responsible I feel about it. I wonder, do you feel any responsibility for the election of Donald Trump?
Well, first of all, I think it's fair to say that I was surprised by the election results, and I've said so. I still don't feel responsible for what the president-elect says or does, but I do feel a responsibility as President of the United States to make sure that I facilitate a good transition, and I present to him, as well as the American people, my best thinking, my best ideas about how you move the country forward. To speak out with respect to areas where I think the Republican Party is wrong, but to pledge to work with them on those things that I think will advance the causes of security and prosperity. And
he just avoids the question. Do you feel any responsibility for Trump being elected? Well, I feel a responsibility to keep doing exactly what I'm doing. I mean, that was not the question. Of course he doesn't feel responsibility. He's a pathological narcissist. He's never done anything wrong. That's why every time he's asked a question about why the American people don't like one or another of his policies, his immediate response to all of that, very clearly, is, I don't care what the American people have to say. If only I had spoken more clearly to them. If only they were wise enough to understand little old me, everything would have been fine. Obama did try to give his explanation of what happened in this election. He said people are obviously disaffected, but he doesn't explain why they're disaffected.
in this situation, we're turning over a country that has challenges, has problems, and obviously there are people out there who are feeling deeply disaffected. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had the results that we had in the election. On the other hand, if you look at the basic indicators of where the country is right now, the unemployment rate is as low as it's been in 8-9 years. Incomes and wages have both gone up over the last year faster than they have in a decade or two. We've got historically low uninsured rates. The financial systems are stable. The stock market is hovering around its all-time high, and 401ks have been restored. The housing market has recovered. We have challenges internationally, but our most immediate challenge with respect to ISIL, we're seeing significant progress in Iraq.
We can stop him there. I mean, again, they asked him, remember, the question here was, what exactly do you think happened here? And his answer was, people are disaffected. And then he gives an entire list of what a wonderful job he does. So the answer really is, according to President Obama, because the people are morons. The people are stupid. Right? If they only understood how grand and glorious Obama's been, if only he had, let's say, a compliant media to repeat 24/7 how wonderful Obama is, or if only he had a bunch of Hollywood celebrities to talk about constantly what a wonderful man he is, or if only he had the UN to talk about how wonderful he is, or if only he'd won a Nobel Prize. Oh, wait, he had all of those things and he still lost? Yeah, maybe because people are disaffected for a reason. It's this sort of blindness that leads to a catastrophic electoral losses. Again, Obama's narcissism led them down the primrose path here. Obama insisted that the Obama coalition, which kept alienating lower class, lower income white voters, the same coalition that alienated a bunch of people in the middle of the country who were sick of watching Obama hobnob with Jimmy Fallon. He keeps saying those people are just dumb. That's all it comes down to. Those people are just stupid. Right? And that sort of scorn for the voter is not going to work in any real way. Now, he did say one thing that I thought was true. Now, I have to give Obama credit. When it comes to the transition to Trump, he's actually done a good job. He's actually staying out of the way for the most part. He's not throwing too many bombs. I would like to see President Obama condemn the rioting and protesting that's occurring because Trump was elected. But aside from that, you have to acknowledge that he's doing a good job with the transition. He's told a lot of lies, however, about why this happened in the first place. But I think he did tell one truth, and it's kind of an important truth, and it speaks to where the Republican Party goes from here. This is President Obama talking about what he thinks of Trump ideologically, what he thinks of him philosophically. He says that Trump isn't really a conservative, he's a pragmatist.
I don't think he is ideological. I think ultimately he's pragmatic in that way, and that can serve him well. as long as he's got good people around him and he has a clear sense of direction.
Okay, so he says that he's a pragmatist, he's not an ideologue. I think that that is basically right. I think that Donald Trump considers himself a pragmatist, just a guy who's going to get stuff done. Now, in American politics, there's a really unfortunate tendency to buy into this kind of bull, and it is bull. When people say that they are just pragmatists, that they just look at the facts in front of them and they can make a decision about the best policy, that is never true. That is never true, because how you see the facts is shaped by your worldview. If you see man as inherently good, that's going to change how you see the facts. If you see man as capable of both good and evil, that changes the facts. If you see freedom as inherently dangerous, that changes how you look at the facts. If you see freedom as the highest purpose of mankind, then that changes how you see the facts. Ideology, philosophy matter. It's what we talk about every day here on the program. I don't think that Trump really has a core philosophy or a core belief system, and that tends toward bigger government. It tends toward more executive power. It tends toward the idea that all policy can be decided just by the great God kings of wisdom who sit on high and rule us. And I think that there is some truth to that about Trump. If you look at the people historically in America who have called themselves pragmatists, Woodrow Wilson was probably the first president to call himself openly a pragmatist. He said, I'm a pragmatist, I'm an expert, my job is to get the experts in a position to make great decisions to help you, the people. And of course, he ended up exponentially growing government, because either the experts are capable of running your life or you're capable of running your life, but not both. And he thinks that, Woodrow Wilson thought the experts were capable. Barack Obama, coming into office, he kept describing himself as a pragmatist. But it turns out that in order to be a governmental pragmatist, you actually have to believe deep down that government has the power to change things for the better enormously. If you believe that, that's what makes you a pragmatist with the government. Because if you're a pragmatist of conservative bent, you say, okay, I think the government kind of sucks at everything. Like, for example, I think that it's pragmatic to talk about drug legalization because the government sucks at the war on drugs. They're really quite terrible at it. Okay, that's a pragmatist philosophy, but it's not pragmatism driving that. It's a basic idea that the government is bad at things. You can be pragmatist on the other side and say, well, the government obviously isn't doing enough on the drug war, so we need to pour money into it. Every set of facts is going to be viewed differently based on what your worldview is. Your worldview is going to help dictate how you see any particular set of facts. And the fact that people who call themselves pragmatists are rarely conservatives, people who say that as a practical thing, I'm going to lead the government and then I'm going to do what's good for America, that never ends well. And I do think that President Obama is largely correct about Donald Trump on this. He's going to be an ad hoc policy guy. I'm hoping he's surrounding himself with some of the right people. We'll go through some good Trump, bad Trump in a minute, talk about some of his appointments. Some of them are quite good. Some of them are a little more questionable. And we'll get to all of that in just a minute. But to do that, you have to go over to dailywire.com, because we have to end over at Facebook and YouTube. Go to dailywire.com and subscribe. You can check us out over there. And $8 a month will buy you access to the rest of this podcast live. Plus, you get to be part of the mailbag. You get my book. If you get an annual subscription, you get my book for free, True Allegiance, signed, which is pretty cool. Plus, we have a bunch of other goodies that are coming up in the next few months. You also, right now, if you subscribe, then you can actually get rid of the ads on the page, which is pretty neat. So make sure you check that out, dailywire.com, to become part of the most listened to conservative podcast in America.